Mr. Joe, back in the
Yes.
back in the cockpit here. And this audience, this is true. I told Joe I didn't want to chat before the show started. I actually have no specific idea where you're at, so I want to see if I could piece this together. Audience, for those of y'all not aware, Joe has been traveling the world. We're going to hear a little bit about London.
I'm a jet setter, you know?
That's right. That's right. I mean, really, when I think about Joe, I'm like, that jet setting so-and-so. So yeah, Joe's been and since we've talked to Joe, Joe's been to London and Paris for sure. I believe he's been to Philly, and I believe he flew out of New York City, but I could be wrong on some of those. So we're going to clarify that. The question today is, where is Joe? And I know I know part of the itinerary was to get to Michigan. So I believe, actually, I know for sure that he's back stateside. My question is he's not in a hotel, so he's out in New York City, I think. He appears to be I see some cupboards back there in a home place. So he's either got an Airbnb or he's in a family setting. And I will say, he said he had a bit of a drive today. So I think he's either en route to Michigan. I'm trying to think, can he make Michigan in one day from like Philly area, Pennsylvania area to Michigan, or is there a stop overnight? Did he stop somewhere? I think you're in Pennsylvania. Where are you, Joe?
I am in Pennsylvania.
That's Pennsylvania. Okay, whereabouts?
Yeah.
We have a strong regional Pennsylvania and New Jersey following. So you got to fill in people. Like,
yeah,
for me, it's fine. You could be like, yeah, I'm in Pennsylvania. Like, that's cool. But people are going to want to know where you're at.
Oh, well, I'm actually not too far from BNS Reptilia, Chris, in Sellersville. I'm in East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
This is my place. So I'm in the basement of my folks' place, just away from everybody.
Yeah. You just found a little corner and disappeared for a minute.
Yeah. And it's great to be back on this thing. I miss it when I don't do it. It's really fun.
I got to tell you, the metrics were pretty high when for last week when Mark filled in for you, man. I don't know that we skipped a beat there. I'm not sure.
What are you saying? What are you saying to me right now?
I'm just saying, if you ever need to take a breather, we're okay. That's all. That's what I'm saying. I memean,
this is Adam's gentle way of saying maybe he wants to do a format change.
No, it is not that, man. I am a creature of habit, and probably to my own detriment. Matter of fact, probably too much. So, no, it's great. What the heck? Look, we usually do this like, we each have one thing we got to tell each other. I got nothing that compares to what you take. Two things you got to tell me this week. You get both of them. You get mine and yours. What's the one thing I got to know, and then tell me another thing.
So yeah, it was a family trip. So we did a lot of touristy stuff. Like we just hit the tourist stuff that you got to see. We took hop on, hop off buses in London and in Paris. I think the one thing that I was thinking about, and I do
one of those double decker things. Yeah, like you have to, right? When are you going to be back to have that again?
And you sit out, like the tourist ones, they're open air, so you sit outside.
Yeah,
actually, they give you headphones and you plug in, and when you pass something, like they tell you about, what you're passing and stuff. So it's great. But while there's nothing to say, they're playing like English rock music, like the Beatles and Elton John, like that. Right. So you're going around London, and you're listening to all of the great English rock music. It was really cool. I thought it was fun. The one thing that I thought about you a lot. The one thing that I was thinking about, especially in France, was there are I think of France as like very like a little more progressive socially.
Okay.
There's like a little bit of more social freedom there, like they're freer with their body and the way that they think or something. That's just the stereotype that's in my brain.
All right.
We went on this food tour though, and which was fantastic. If anybody's going to Paris, this is a food tour. It was amazing. He took us around this one neighborhood, and then we sat and we did bread and wine and cheese and all these. It was fantastic.
Okay.
But what I thought was, there are so many rules. So this stereotypical thing in my brain about how like France is like a little freer or socially free or this mentality. There are so many intricate rules of food for their food and for the different shops that sell their food.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
Like a boulangerie is like, you have to be making bread every single day. So it has to be made daily. It has to be made on premises. It has to be fresh ingredients. You have to make a baguette.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then a baguette is like, you can only use these 4 ingredients, blah,
Yes.
blah, blah.
Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
So,
I do.
Now, the thing was, the tour guide was great, and I'm an American, and I love America, and I felt this little pretentiousness, like the French really know how to eat, and North Americans, they do things weird or whatever.
Oh, right, yeah.
Feeling that a little
there's
bit.
a subtle little lecture behind everything because
right.
you gotta be educated and right. Okay.
Now,
Considering
what I ate there, they have a point. They have a point because
all right,
it was fantastic.
I grew up in a household. My mother, she married a gentleman from Poland. And let me tell you, daily it was, well, in Europe, you would do this, but here we are. And I'm like, you know what they do every day? They fly airplanes back to Europe every day. Man, you can go.
Now, when I brought this up, like, there's so many rules. The response was, that's why our food is so good.
That's right.
So underlying this thing, like, oh man, there's so many rules, is this idea that regulation makes things better. Isn't that weird? That's weird, right?
Is
that strange?
It's strange. Let me put it in because what you're describing goes exactly to the laws of French wine, and French wine laws dictate all the laws in Europe. And I think this is a little bit of a stretch, but I actually think some of this can be applied to ball pythons a little bit too, and the genetics.
Well, that's why I brought this up. This is why I picked this one thing, because we've talked about regulation on this show a few times.
All right, so let me get the word regulation out of the way for just a moment. It is well, no, because everybody gets their arms up when you think about that. But let me make the pitch because it took me a minute to get my head around this as well. It really is a brand standard versus a regulation. If you see a Macy's bag, you have an expectation of what's in that bag. You might not know what it is, but there's a quality expectation to it. And that's the French argument. If you see the word Bordeaux on the wine, you can't screw around with what is Bordeaux. So there's legal definitions of it. You can use one of 5 grapes or up to all 5 grapes, but you will use no other grapes if it says Bordeaux on the label. And matter of fact, you will not grow any other grapes in Bordeaux other than those 5, because an inspector will come around and burn your vineyard down.
Right.
They're not screwing around. The same thing with Champagne. Yeah. Champagne is champagne because it comes from that place. It happens to have bubbles in it. All champagne will have the bubbles, but it's because they have codified what champagne is. And that was the gentleman's argument that you're talking about, where he said, well, that's how we guarantee quality. Just what you were talking about with the breads. It has to be made on premise. It has to use XYZ ingredients. It is a brand assurance. And as freewheeling as us Americans want to be, I do find a value in that. And I certainly find a value in a product. If people see Proper Cup of Joe, they know they're getting Adam and Joe, and there's this sort of They know that it's a reptile and a non-reptile guy, and we're going to get a little nerdy in our chat and go down depth and detail, blah, blah, blah. So to me, it's a brand assurance. And then right under that surface, so let's go back to Bordeaux for a minute. If there's 5 grapes, who does those grapes the best? And that starts to be the question of what brands. So not only is it Bordeaux, now you're talking the Chateau. The Chateaus are the wineries. So what winery does the blend of Cab Merlot the best, or primarily Merlot? Is it Petrus? Is it this or that? And in that way, I think ball pythons get known this way. If you ask the audience right now, everybody would have an opinion. What is the best Axanthic line? Everybody's going to go, no. I'm a VPI person. I'm a TSK person. No, MJ is the best line. Billy was.
Just wait a second. So you're using some acronyms there. I'm not. So VSK, TJ.
Okay. All right.
TSK, TKTS.
There is a condition called Axanthic, which takes all color out. So everything is a shade of black or white, and there's a lot of gray in the middle there.
Okay.
Well, it was a little easier to explain this until about 3 weeks ago, and I'll tell you why. So now there have been identified several lines of Axanthic that were up until 3 weeks ago considered to be non-compatible. So if and then they get named after the companies. What VPI stands for, to this day, I have no earthly idea. Someone in the audience will clarify it for me. TSK stands for the Snake Keeper. That's the brand name. It's the TSK line of Axanthic. MJ stands for Marcus Jane. That's the person that, or the company. It's not the person, but the company that identified that.
Okay.
People protected those brands, much like we're talking about. No,
right.
This is the brand protection. These are mine. They were thought to be incompatible. Well, genetic testing has proven that a couple of them are actually identical. They were isolated and line bred by these producers and subsequent breeders that sort of subscribe to that quality brand. Now they've been shown, a couple of them have been shown to be the same. And I'm sorry, because that's a really, really nerdy detail to get sort of stuck on. But the idea being with that French mindset, we could think it's annoying or not, but it does bring value and it does bring definition. There's I'll take 30 more seconds for a funny story for how stubborn they are for their laws. The VPI stands for the founders, the Barkers. But what does the letter VP and I stand for?
Well, it looks like Vida Preciosa International.
Oh, Vida Preciosa International. All right, that's cool. There we go.
You're learning now.
I'm learning. I'm telling you, that's why I do these shows. My premise has never been that I'm the expert. My premise has been this is a great opportunity to learn. Okay, so
social learning. We're learning from each other.
That's right. The scene. Okay, so there's sort of a famous story where I think it was the Queen, but a royal family member was coming from England to France, and there was going to be a state dinner, and they wanted to serve with. Clearly, England is not known for their grape growing. However, the English Channel is not very wide, and there's a thin line between southern England and northern France that we can all sort of understand briefly. And they do grow grapes and wine grapes in southern England, especially now with global warming. And so the French customs, they said, hey, we're going to bring this wine to serve for the Queen and to show off and to show that we have a blooming wine scene. And everything has to be taxed, imported, exported, custom stamps. And the French people said, well, that doesn't exist. There's no definition for English wine. And they said, it exists right here in a bottle. And they said, no, there's nothing on the books for it. There's no, that that is not a wine. There's no stamp for it. It will not come into our country. It will not get mixed up as wine. And the outcome is that the wine did eventually make it, and it got on the table for the queen or whoever it was. But the circular logic of it is Bordeaux because it comes from Bordeaux, and because it comes from Bordeaux, it tastes like it's from Bordeaux, and because it tastes like it's from Bordeaux, you know it's from Bordeaux. And it's this circular thing that is absolutely non-negotiable. Those laws were written in 1854. They're still in the books today.
Yeah, and I kind of had this idea of that even just going into, Total Wine in the US, the sectioning of the wine portion of that store, right? Is you have wines that are based on the grapes, Chardonnay and Merlot,
sure.
and Cabernet.
Yep.
And most of those are coming from the United States. And where then there are aisles that are Italian wines, French wines, Spain, Argentina, like those, because they're more about where they come from. I mean, they're specifically about where they come from. And it made me think about how important, like how much more important place was to the old world. I think.
That's right. Yeah. And that is the point is place. Yeah. And that's the brand definition of the places is really what that guy was trying to convey. I mean, he probably had his own way of conveying it, but that was it.
So, man. Yeah, he was great. Actually, he was very good. There was just this underlying thing. I was like, we know how to eat, and other.
Oh yeah, the subtext is it's like a little pat on the head every 30 seconds, right?
So just to consider place, right? So there was a certain cheese that was produced in a certain area, and like even their cheeses are place bound, right?
That's right.
So their cheeses are place bound, and so there was this debate that happened. What if we took it was a cow's milk cheese? What if we took the cows and we moved them to another place? Like we took the cows from this area, we moved them to another place, and so there was this debate: would it be the same cheese? And what won out was no, it would not be the same cheese because the cows would ultimately be changed by what they were eating in the place that they were. That's how important place was. I thought that was really kind of an interesting idea.
Yeah, there's a French term, and I have to think of it. I'm a little rusty these days, but there's a French term that basically says it's the sum of all parts. It's the salty ocean breeze coming off of the bay there in Bordeaux. It's the estuary. It's the iron in the soil. It's the southerly winds that blow, the African wildfire smoke. It's the sense of all those things combined. And that's the argument. If you move the cows, the grass would be different. The minerals that they're eating in the grass to make that cheese, to make the milk that goes into the cheese would be different. Yeah. And that's that cool idea.
That was great. Now we have a few questions that came up.
Okay.
I'll answer the one. I did go to the Louvre. Or the Louvre, as I was calling it.
That's
right. It's just jaw-dropping.
Yeah.
Jaw-droppingly, I like literally, I would walk into one of the rooms in the Louvre and my mouth would hang open. It was spectacular. Especially like I'm calling it the sculpture garden. It was like this. There was this one sculpture. It was the four captives that I could have just stood around for an hour. Or for the whole day. It was amazing. There's you go see the Mona Lisa and all that, but just to be into these rooms and just see.
I heard the Mona Lisa's smaller than you expected. I hear it's like it's. I heard it's not that big. Did you sense that when you saw it or not?
Yeah, I mean, it seems to me like a normal size painting.
Oh, okay.
I think it's not. I mean, they have huge paintings in the Louvre,
right.
But yeah, it's one of the smaller ones. I think they should put other paintings around it. liven it up a little bit. I don't know. It just wasn't one of the most impressive things. And you couldn't get close to it either. Like I wish I could have like stood there and looked at it for a little bit to figure out why it's so mesmerizing.
I was gonna say, like, we're just told all our lives it's mesmerizing, but is it like, does it you know, does it, I don't know. Anyway,
I really wanted, I just didn't have the, it didn't present itself. There was 100 people like just scurrying to get a picture of it, and I just couldn't settle down and look at it. So so I saw it, but you know, yeah.
Troy thinks the Statue of Liberty is a little small, so you know maybe we all have these we all have these fixtures in our
Well,
mind,
I saw,
you know?
it's funny because I saw its counterpart in Paris. There's a,
is there one? Yeah, okay, yeah.
But it's quarter the size of the Statue of Liberty, and
So that one really is a little smaller.
That one really is smaller. So I think the cultural stuff, like the going to the Louvre, was amazing. We went to see Les Mis in the West End in London.
Oh, okay.
That was. I mean, I walked out of there. The next 3 days, I was going, "Who am I? Who am I?" You know, it's just like, I'm Jean Valjean.
Yeah,
you
musicals
know,
for me. I'm like, just speak. Do we need to? Yeah. No, but that is, oh man, that is cool. And you did all this in like you did like a whirlwind 3-day thing, right? 4 days. How long were you there?
We did 3 days in London, 3 days in Paris. So we really fit, like we walked 12 miles a day. It was like, it was nuts. We were tired at the end of every day. I know I'm like excited now because I'm thinking about it, but I'm like exhausted from this trip. I'm ready just not to do anything.
But you should be. That's a big moment. You got to pack it in. Screw being tired. You got later for that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought.
Yeah,
we went to the Chelsea Stadium.
Cool. I mean, if you'd gone to Liverpool, it'd be a little bit better, but it's all right.
I know. We went to PSG.
Cool.
The Paris Saint-Germain.
Yeah, Saint-Germain.
It was a great. Both of them were great tours. It was amazing. I did go. I caught. I really wanted to go to a jazz club in Paris. We went to a jazz club in Paris. That was really great.
Cool.
I loved it. So it was great. It was. I could talk. I could continue to talk about this.
All right, one last question, because, and I think you would have brought it up if you had. Did you go to the Moulin Rouge Club? I mean, I hear it's outside of town, and you got to go a little ways out, but there's like a cool commune and stuff there.
Actually, so we didn't go to it. Like we walked by it and we took.
Oh, you did? Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, and actually, it was by the neighborhood by the food.
Oh, okay. All right.
And I would say the neighborhood name, but I always feel silly doing it. Montmartre.
Okay.
Montmartre.
I know there's like all these letters that you think you're not supposed to say, but then you're supposed to, so you have to like mumble at the end. Yeah, I can't do the French accent either.
It's by the Church of the Sacred Heart, which is this huge church, which has a great story behind it. It's fantastic. We went up in the Eiffel Tower.
Cool.
Stuff
oh yeah.
Like that.
I saw your picture, man. It was very, very cute. You have the city behind you with the little hearts and stuff. I thought it was very nice. That was cool.
Yeah, Chelsea put that on it. We're holding hands.
I'll let it be. Actually, I'm not. We're all friends here. I'm not going to let it be. I thought it was like the 8th grade dance version of a romantic picture. You're like 3 feet apart, holding hands.
There's a heart behind.
Yeah, with the fake hearts. There, I was like, nothing screams love here like this. This is great. This is perfect for you.
I think Chelsea kind of thought the same thing, but that's why she posted it.
No, that's why I know we're friends. That's why I was like, I could say this.
We took that picture and we were like, yeah, it felt like the prom. We're at the prom.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So that, if anybody's interested, that word I was trying to think of is, and again, I'm going to screw it up how to pronounce it. That word is terroir, Terroir. It's a French term that describes the environmental factors that make a crop's phenotype, that's up our alley, including unique environment, context, farming practices, and a crop's specific growth habitat. Collectively, these contextual characteristics are said to have a character. So that's all a sense of place. That's all tied to that sense.
Terroir.
Or with a R that you mumble a little bit. Terroir. Okay.
Something, one more thing. I got to say one more thing.
All right.
There is this other stereotype that French people are rude to Americans.
Okay.
So I actually felt more welcomed by the French than I did the English in London, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think we had everybody learn some French phrases, and I think that just goes a long way. So the French phrase that I learned was "Je suis désolé," which is "I am sorry."
Just cover your bases out of the gate.
Yes. Je ne parle pas français. That was, I don't speak French, and every time I said "Je suis désolé," they'd be like, Oh no.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, nice disarming.
Yeah. Very welcoming, except now this is the other thing that I thought about our topic today. And you should say the one thing. What's the one thing from your week?
Well, the one thing is that we got a new logo. I can't even point. There you go, Joe. You handle the pointing. That's Reagan Renee Royal Pythons. It's Charlie Ryan. He named his company after his daughter. He's doing some really great stuff. I don't know if y'all know Charlie. You should. If you don't, link down below. Reagan Renee Royal Pythons. He's working with DG.
Charlie's on the chat today, right?
Charlie's in the chat, man. He's Charlie's all around us, man. He's there.
A contributor here for a while, yeah.
DG, Candy, G Stripe, Krypton, Pied. Combos in single, double, triple, and quad hets. Charlie, right here, right now, has quad hets available. Opportunities to get into projects, whether at the ground level or if you want to skip ahead with some Kodom components as well. Check out Reagan Renee Royal Pythons. And I would say personally, don't get overwhelmed by the jeans or the quad stuff. There's some very approachable prices to very investment grade prices. And Charlie's going to do it right. He's one of the most thoughtful guys that I've been around. I've trusted him to guest host the show when I was on vacation last summer. And we've had the time to hang out. So Charlie's somebody I've known for a long time. I'm really proud to have his logo on there. One other thing that everybody needs to know, Bob Vu is he's got a show that kind of leads into our own topic today. He's going to be promoting a show in Atlanta, the Southeast Reptile Expo. And you could at checkout, if you want to buy tickets, you could use the promo code proper, just proper, no numbers, no nothing. And he's going to give you 10% off. But he says, hey, for Proper Royals viewers, you're going to do the same thing for his animals. Just include the word proper in the inquiry. You're going to get 10% off of anything from Bob Vu. You got to be watching live to get that. That's not published anywhere. So pretty cool stuff for you viewers as well. And while we're at it, let's knock this out. Cold Blooded Cafe. I just got my shipment from them yesterday. I still use their frozen rats. They're still great. They've upgraded their packaging, all recyclable, all insulated. The things came frozen solid as a rock. I love the recyclable insulation. And none of that stuff's cheap. And it just speaks to the quality that they have and why I choose them. Use a promo code PROPER11. You're going to get 11% off of your order. And listen closely. If you get above $250, use a second promo code. You could use them both, FS250. You're going to get free shipping and 11% off your order. That's a lot of money. You could easily get up to $100 off on your order, just like that. Last but not least, Keith at Kreative Genetics. Yesterday, his stud officially is going to become a father. He, one of the females laid 5 good eggs from that clown axanthic from Kreative Genetics. So Keith and I will have some hatchlings available this year. Thanks so much. Keith is out in Fresno, California. He's working with the Stranger Project in VPI axanthic, clown, and pied combos. So check out Kreative Genetics. Thank you to the sponsors. Thank you to the audience. Thanks for everybody for hanging out this morning. We talked a long time about non-ball python stuff. Joe, we got Got about a half hour of good stuff to dig in here. Go on.
Okay, and just I don't want to miss this question that we have in the chat as well. We were talking about axanthics, and this is from Domestic Dinos. We don't breed ball pythons. We just have 4, which axanthics proved to be VE compatible. So many questions that I have just based on this question. But do you have an answer for Domestic Dinos?
No, I was gonna politely move on. Somebody in the audience. No, but here's why. I have this such tunnel vision. If I don't deal with something, I just go on. Like I can't get distracted by 99 other things, and it's kind of like my life. I don't get into the drama and the BS and all of that. So I don't deal with. So VPI is the axanthic line that I use, and it's not compatible with any of the others yet. Somebody will answer it right there. Yeah, Troy's got it. So GCR and MJ are compatible so far, and I think that they're saying that TSK and one of the others are compatible, which they, on the surface, is what the data is starting to show, but they're proving it or reproving it. Yes, and then Billy said black axanthic and TSK. So Joe, I empathize with you when you say, man, there's a lot of names and letters flying around. I can't work with every gene in the world. So if it didn't affect the one that I work with, and I know I'm not getting into the others, it was like, all right, neat stuff, but I got other things in life, and I'm sorry, but that's how I go through life sometimes. And I think Chris is full of it. This BAX, black axanthic. Now he's throwing a new number. That's not a real thing. That nobody calls it BAX. He's making that up now. And if he's not, I'm saying he is. I'm sticking with my story there. Joe, in case you don't know, Billy is probably one of the foremost authorities on ball pythons, modern authorities anyhow, and especially in Canada, the largest Canadian breeder, far and away, like the industry standard. That's a mutation creation.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. Hanging out this morning.
All right. Awesome. Great to have you.
The one other thing you got to know, which the audience is aware of, but Billy is an investor and a part owner in a company called Husbandry Pro. And Husbandry Pro, their software developer and founder, Robert Vanderklee, he and I have been working on the Proper Royals website. That's going to be live here. I think we're going to get it within this week. We're going to go live and roll it out. So,
whoa, that's great news.
Yeah. So there's been some tease videos and that kind of stuff that we've put out. So tangentially, Billy's always been good to me, but we're sort of, he is an owner in the company. So anyhow, the new Husbandry Pro properroyals.com powered by Husbandry Pro should be live here in another week or so. And that's like a test product that we're working to see if it's good to offer to other breeders, and if it's another extension of the Husbandry Pro product line. So that's staying busy on all kinds of stuff, man.
That's really exciting. Really exciting.
Our topic today, Joe, we got a lot of ground to cover, and I don't think we could cover it all. So this is gonna be like a choose your own adventure. I'll lay a couple questions out, and you decide which path we want to go down, or the audience can. Okay. I suppose we could figure that out. So the one question is, there's seems to be this groundswell of breeder show promoters, people that aren't typically show promoters. They're typically known as ball python breeders getting into show promotion. But then it occurred to me, is that really even something new? I think this is just another, I think this is a new wave of people trying, but I think there's a history of breeders promoting shows. So should they stay in their lane, or is this a analogous field solution, as you've called it in the past, where we can apply some knowledge from one to the other? That's one topic. Ball pythons in the marketplace. You're probably not aware, Joe, but the audience would be. There's a pervading mindset that there's too many ball python breeders at these shows. Is that accurate? I could argue that, well, yeah, there's a lot of ball python breeders at the shows, but let me tell you, there's a lot of ball python money at these shows. That's who's coming in the door. Yeah, Billy, thank you, man. I am giddy about this. I'm trying to keep it like I can talk about it all day long, but I can't show it. It's not ready yet, but it's so freaking cool, man. I'm excited too. Thank you. So ball pythons in the marketplace. So there are too many of them, not enough at shows. Or the third topic, which is a little bit tied to it, is this limitation of ball pythons at the shows? Is this really a good old boys network? Because some people can get into any show they want with or without ball pythons. I'll tell you that right now. But the flip side of that is the promoter wants to put on a good show. Should they have a choice of who they let in? Should there be, I hate to use the word discrimination, but should there be discretion on who gets in, and where's the line on that? So that's all wrapped up in there. What do you want to go after today, Joe?
So hang on, so I think we could do all three, because I'm thinking about all three.
Joe's feeling good. He's on vacation. He's like, screw it, we're doing them all.
The first thing is, so explain to me the show promoter. So they're not really in the reptile space, but they are in the show space. What are you talking about there?
Okay, so typically there's been, in my experience, which is still fairly limited, in my experience, a show promoter is generally, they might have some animals, they might be into reptiles. You're not gonna, like, I'm not gonna do a cheese show and not be into cheese. I'm making it up right now, but like, they have an interest in reptiles, but they're not known for being this influential breeder, or a known breeder. They're show promoter. Okay. They put on their show circuit and that kind of deal. But what we're seeing is, and all these gentlemen have been good to me, so I got no problem with any of this. Or not that people have to be good to me anyway. They're good people, is what I'm saying, and they're good shows. So a breeder named Troy Schroeder, Best Dressed Balls is his company, and Nick Sloan Reptiles. They said, hey, we see a space in the marketplace for a great show in Denver, a big show, national caliber quality show. And really notoriously recently, they put on the All-American Reptile and Plant Expo. Great show. I got to go to it. It was a very nicely, wonderfully done. Good for them. Bob Vu is putting on the Southeast Reptile Expo. These guys are known for breeding ball pythons, not the local laws, collecting sales tax, ticket sales, marketing, branding. Yes, they're marketing and branding ball pythons and their brand constantly, but not all that goes with show promotion. Just because I play guitar doesn't mean that I should be promoting concerts at Red Rocks. Like, it's a different skill set, it overlaps. Okay. But
I see.
What do I know about, like, pulling the curtain back a little bit? I know at the last minute, Troy and Nick, surprise to them, they came and got inspected, and they were told, "Where's your security?" And they're like, "Oh, well, we got some guys helping us out." And they're like, "No, you need a certified." Licensed security company. And they're like, what are you talking? What do we need security? And they're like, well, you have X number of people in X square footage of space, and that required. So they had to drop however many, I'm assuming thousands, but money on that. And that's just a small example of, like, how do you get all that in place? And the overhead to book a fairgrounds a year out, you're going to book 80,000 square feet of space. You're plunking down 5 figures, I'm sure. Like, that's all. Right, that's all outside of knowing what the hell a Xanthic is.
Right. Yeah.
That's my point on there.
So what you're saying is that it's so these big ball python or reptile breeders, sellers are getting into show promotion, building shows, and doing that kind of thing. And is that like a separate? Now I have kind of a, like, if Babu, I think, is going to be on your show, you're working with him. I mean, he's going to have a show. I have a hard time believing, though, that somebody of his caliber isn't working with a show promoter. Is that not accurate?
I don't know if it's a show promoter. To your point, and when you get to a certain scale and scope, you're going to have experts within your circle. So you're either going to know the experts or they're already working for you. So when I was running resorts, a lot of people say, "Oh, you're a chef, Adam." And I actually clarify. I say, actually, I'm not the chef. I'm the guy that oversees the whole department. And I would have chefs. So I'm sure, just as Billy has software developers that he works with, Bob has marketing team. Bob has an accounting team. Bob, you know, when you're doing, I have no idea what, I have no full total clarity here. Let me make very clear. I have no idea what these gentlemen gross in their company revenues. But when you get to the sales that I imagine they have, they're grossing 7 figures. I'm sure. You don't do that as a one-man show. You're not washing every tub, billing every sale, building every website, taking every picture, et cetera, et cetera. And there's a handful of people at that caliber. So I'm sure that they have the resources, is what I'm saying.
But so the point though of this, and what I'm seeing is like, it's like in any business, right? Like if you're a good, the last job I worked for was like a university, right? So if you're a good enrollment counselor or academic advisor, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be a good director of academic advising or a good director of enrollment counseling. You know, it's a different skill set. And so, but it doesn't mean that you can't move from one position to the other. It just has to be, you have to have your eyes wide open with it. That was my take in all of that, is to know that just because you're good at this doesn't mean that you're gonna be successful over here, because it's a different skill set. And so many companies make that error where they go, because you're a good individual contributor here, you're gonna be a good leader leading those people. Now, I think that's one thing that they need to know. But
I believe that's called, I think it's called the Peter Principle. And I don't know why it's called the Peter Principle. Promote people above and beyond what they're good at to a wider scope until they fail and you fire them. It's a dumb thing, right? Like, you're so good at this. And I even experienced that before. We're like at my core, I'm a restaurant guy. My last employed role, I was overseeing group sales for golf. Group sale, they're like, oh, you could sell weddings. That's like group sales. You could sell the golf. You oversee the group sales golf group sales team. And then I was pretty good logistics operationally. And they're like, okay, you're going to oversee all of our waterfront venues. And like, I don't know anything about boat maintenance and winterizing boats. I want to serve wonderful wine and talk about terroir, you know, like I did it and I figured it out. And so, I mean, to their point, I guess it was the right call. On the other hand, I don't know that was my specialty. And I don't know that I maintain those boats to the highest quality I could have, I guess.
Now,
is the way to put it.
Now, the other thing I do think that a leader or somebody who's leading something or putting together something in a particular space needs to know what goes into that space. So just continuing on the analogy, a director of enrollment counselor needs to know what it takes to be an enrollment counselor. You know, they need to know what goes into it. So that's why, to me, what you're talking about is that it's kind of exciting that you have these guys who know what it takes to be big time breeders that are getting into the space, as long as there's a realization that that putting together a show takes a certain other type of talent, a certain other type of help and expertise. That's all.
Right. And I think, and a lot of the audience is bringing up a good point that they're feeling confident about, which is, hey, these breeders can empathize with us as breeders vending at shows. They know what it takes to welcome us, to make this make sense. So from that standpoint, to go back to my analogy, hey, I play music, should I be a promoter? Well, yeah, I'm going to put together a good show because I want musicians, you know, I want pros in there. I want good people in there. And actually that leads to another one of my questions earlier. So sometimes at some shows, it's hard to get into. Everybody know Tinley has been explicit about it, so I'll use Tinley. It's not picking on them. And I in full transparency, I do have a table with Chris at BNS Reptilia at Tinley. But they'll tell you explicitly, man, if you're selling ball pythons, don't even apply.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't feel that good. Billy made the point earlier. Yeah. Without ball pythons, the whole reptile industry doesn't exist. The technological advances, Morph Market, Husbandry Pro, none of that stuff happens. This show, none of it happens if it weren't for ball pythons. So right. Back off kind of deal. But I got thinking a little bit. Is it their job to roll out the carpet to anybody who writes a check? Or is it their job to put on a really good show? And similarly, I'll bring up Charlie at Reagan, Renee, Royal Pythons again. Somebody that wants to advertise with me, I don't want to just take a paycheck. I want them to be the right fit for our brand. Sure. So where's that line? It's hard to get into the show, but hey, they got it. Their job as a promoter is to put butts in the seats and to get people through the door. And let's be honest, if you know, A, B, or C, A1, A2, and A3 breeders are going to come vend at my show, I'm going to get more people through the door than, frankly, if Proper Royals vends, you know? So where's that balance?
I'm a big synthesizer. I love like experiencing something. So of course I have this trip on my brain, right? So I said people in Paris seem to be very welcoming, except the closer you got to the tourist attractions, the more upset they were with people, tourists, I guess, people from out of town.
Yeah.
They didn't have the patience for them. So, and I'm sitting there and I'm going, listen, the Eiffel Tower wouldn't even exist if there weren't tourists, because the Eiffel Tower was a temporary structure for the World's Fair.
It's a World's Fair. That's right. Yeah.
And the only reason that it got to be permanent was people continued to come to see it. The only reason that it's there is
literally a tourist draw. Yeah.
It's a tourist draw. So the only reason you have this service job right now is because I'm a part of the movement. I'm sitting in the seat. And I am,
you're going to take the picture with the fake hearts up top. You're the guy. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Which I'll put up in a minute. But,
excellent.
But it makes me think about this question. It's like, okay, if you want the industry to grow, what's bringing people in? What's bringing the most people in? And at this point in time, it seems to be ball pythons. No.
Yeah, not to the extent that it was. So that is lowered a little bit, but ball pythons are, I can't quantify this. Somebody maybe can, but I think everybody will agree with me. The money coming into the show and the animals going out of the show are ball pythons. Pick your number X to 1. I mean, and it's not even close. And that's where Billy made a comment earlier, and that's where my argument has been. You know, everybody likes to crap on ball python breeders. Even I have good friends in here that have made a living crapping on ball python breeders, tongue in cheek. They're good. It's cool. We all know who we're talking about here, but Joe doesn't. But otherwise, we're good. But the money coming into the show and the animals leaving the show are still ball pythons. It's pick your analogy. It's the bread and butter. It's the foundation. It's the bedrock, all of that stuff. And others will come and go. Right now, the others that could come and go, there it is. Look at that. You guys, you got so close. I could just see the love. I mean, it's great. Thankfully, all the hearts were there. That really helps us tie it all together. Yeah.
All right. Sorry.
That's okay. It was good timing. So, right now, it's geckos and hognoses are sort of vying for that place.
Okay.
But every show I'm at, somebody asks, do you have any hognoses? And I know like the one person that has the hognoses at the show. Like, you know, there's other things. There'll be an iguana vendor. There'll be some bearded dragon vendors. It's ball pythons though, man. It's we know that. Ball python. Matt says there's a ball python fatigue. Probably. It's the market is saturated. I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of us. We're all vying for a spot in it, and it's a challenging arena, and people will come and go. But I will say, part of the challenge of it being so saturated is it absolutely rewards quality, it rewards branding, it rewards presentation, and it rewards effort of putting a good brand forward. You have to. You can't just do it. You can't just print money anymore on it. Now we're getting down to good. I'm telling you, it's a small world. Every person in here knows each other, and every person in here knows that this is just guys having a good time.
So, so you said the market is saturated. Is it really?
Oh,
because okay. But are you not connecting to potential markets?
That's the idea.
I mean, that's what this show is, right? You bring me in. I don't really know. I ask questions.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
So is it really saturated, or are we, like you said, are we creating like more and more of this club where it's like, okay, what am I going to sell within this market, and not going out and trying to find new ones?
Yeah. There's a great distinction, and that's a great reason why I love having you on the show. And a lot of people have asked. By the way, when you were out, a couple people were like, somebody messaged me and they're like, who is Joe? Is he just a dude that doesn't know anything about ball pythons? I was like, that's him. And they're like, where did you find him? And I'm like, no, we're old buddies. He's a good conversationist. He's an excellent person. But so kudos to you for that, because they like you. But they also,
cool. That's good.
They also said, and this was Shane Kelly at Small Town. He also said the best part of the show is that it breaks us out of our little tunnel vision of our own little community, where we all tell each other, we all just preach to the choir. And he's like, It's nice to have somebody from outside just asking normal questions like a normal freaking human being. And I was like, that's like the best compliment I've ever gotten on the show. And Joe got the compliment. So to your point, yeah, I almost put it in business school, they would call it, there's B2B sales, business to business sales. And then there's B2C sales, business to customer sales. So selling to other breeders is sort of breeder to breeder sale. And then there's breeder to pet sale, or breeder to future breeder, or breeder to aspiring dreamer kind of thing. And some people would say, you're lying to these people and you're just putting on a story and you're selling them a dream that's never going to come true. And I would say that's any industry. What culinary schools are selling a dream to 90% of the people they're not going to be professional chefs. They're not going to make it. What, a baseball kids camp? You think all those kids are going to the MLB or NBA or football? It's not going to happen. That's any industry. That's any world. The best are going to make it. Lots of people are going to try. The jury's still out on me. Who knows?
It's funny. You bring up chefs, you bring up that industry, you bring up people who want it, because when you enter into this industry, it's not, I mean, I guess a lot of people get into it because they want to collect and they want different types of snakes or reptiles. They want to build a collection. But I think a lot of people are breeding. They eventually, even if they're not doing it now, they eventually kind of get into it if they stick with it, or no?
Yeah, I say I like to use different things as proxies. And actually, Chris, Fat Man Nation, makes an excellent point that I want to pick up on here in a second, too. And we got a little, you're on vacation. We got a little overtime. Who knows? I know you got a long drive today, but I'm sorry. Remind me of your detail one more time, Joe, because I liked it. I forgot it, though.
So you mentioned chefs. Like people who get
get into it. Yeah.
Eventually get into breeding. I mean, that's what ultimately people do, or no?
So So like I like some proxy metrics. So when people say the market's down, I call up Redline Shipping, Robin, and I go, hey, people shipping more or less? He goes, they're shipping more. Okay, well, all right. So the market might be different, but things are moving, right? So another proxy is rodent sales. I want buyers that want. First, I want them to buy more rodents from me. So I want buyers that want to order 10 rats a week. But if they're ordering 10 rodents a week, that tells me they're over the hump. They're not stopping at 10 ball pythons.
Yeah.
They're going to get an inventory list. If they only want to buy one rodent from me a week, first, it's not really worth my time or headache to go sell a $2 or $3 rodent to one person. That doesn't make sense. But it's also, that means that they're probably safely in the one snake in a terrarium is their, family pet with the 7-year-old kid. If they have 10 ball pythons, the hooks are in, man. If we got a live one, like we got to reel that one in.
Right, yeah.
They're going to have 20 or 25. But the other part of it, and Chris brings this up a lot, is it's 2 to 3 years at best when those females will start breeding. It's a different point that Chris brings up. Will they make it 3 years? The Tuesday night episode I just did was breeders that started investing 3 years ago and are just now starting to see. Like 3 years is a long time. Who's got the patience in life to do anything for 3 years, much less wait on a ball python that's going to sit there and stare at you? So, Joe, the answer to your question is I don't know. The goal was to get them to do it, but I don't think most people actually get there. Some do. All right. How about a cynical take? Promoters.
Wait, before you go on.
Okay. All right. Because I like this topic.
Before you go on, because I got stuck on this analogy, and it's in your past. Oh, it's in your present too. What's the thing that made like the foodie chef industry really blow up into where people are becoming, amateur chefs at home? Like, to me, in my mind, it was things like, it was like travel shows with Anthony Bourdain and CNN and stuff. And then it was like all of these reality shows of Hell's Kitchen and Top Chef and all that. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Top Chef. Yeah.
So what about a reality reptile show?
Oh man.
I actually know a television producer. She does things like Naked and Afraid and stuff. We could put together an idea here.
Let's pitch it. You got the people in the room. Literally, the people are in the room that could make that. That could be the people on it. Actually, Steven at Leviathan Snakes, he's working on I think he would call it documentary versus reality series, but he's working on a series of following. I think it's either 6 or 8 episodes of 6 or 8 different ball python breeders vending various shows, a couple days in their life of show weekend. But yeah, I think the characters in the industry are incredible. I think the line between success and failure is razor thin. That's been my theme for literally years now, and I'm still walking that line. I still don't know which side I fall on. You got Joe, what you don't know is Chris, who is Snakes and the Fat Man, now Fat Man Nation. I mean, this guy was playing rock and roll on the Sunset Strip in the 90s and early 2000s, and I'm going to give him a hard time, but I mean, he just had a leg amputated. Now he's a one-legged, ball python reptile, ball python basher reptile aficionado, and he knows his stuff.
Snakes and the Fat Man. Snakes and the Fat Man is one of the best names that I've ever heard.
He's a classic. I mean, these characters they're way better than me. I mean, I would just be like boring old Adam, I'd be like the square on the show, yeah. Talk to your Naked and Afraid friend. I think it'd be in all seriousness, any way that we could bring more people to the hobby, to the industry, is always going to be, I say always, is going to be good. There's going to be pluses and minuses to it. I'll tell you, in restaurants, I remember the day that I knew that Food Network was a problem, because I got different kinds of complaints. Everybody was suddenly effing expert. And screw them, because they didn't know what the hell they were talking about.
Well, which goes kind of against your point. There's probably some people in the industry that are very successful that don't want to expand the market, or maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Well, that's how it feels, and that's how that went to Chris's comment. To get real cynical, if you're the promoter, you could control your competition, because
that's a good point.
For all these promoters that don't want more ball pythons, Joe, I'm going to ask you one question, and there's one answer that is correct. What are these promoters selling at their tables?
Give me a hint.
Ball pythons, the whole damn thing, the only effing thing. You missed it, Joe. I'm gonna blame it on the jet lag, man.
It's jet lag.
So there's this underlying question where I'm like, oh, you don't want more ball python breeders at your show, but you got your booth. Oh, that's neat. You got your ball pythons over there, huh? So I'm playing devil's advocate, talking out of both sides of my mouth, but those are all the thoughts that go into it, and all the thoughts of, like, almost daily life. And there's a question of, should I advertise for other ball python breeders? Does that make sense? What am I thinking here? There's a time and a place, and the fish in the pond, and all this context that goes into it, and who do I want to relate with, and all of that kind of thing, so it's a fun world, man. We covered a lot of ground this morning, Joe. I don't know if we settled anything, but we covered some ground, man.
Well, we got a few ideas popping. That's just what I like. That's what I like to do.
I was being serious when I said the people that could make it happen, both from the characters, from dreaming big, from working hard, from networking that'll know people, they're in the room. And I know that below most people, nobody knows you in this audience as well as I know you, but I know that you have both that drive and those relationships as well, man. It would be fun to do. I don't know what it takes to fund it. I don't know who's going to be the executive producer of this stuff, all of that. I don't get into all. I have no idea about any of that. And sorry, welcome Zeus the Serpent says I'll always promote other breeders. Yeah, clearly I do. I meant philosophically, it does enter into your mind. Like, wait a minute, does is Publix running advertisements for Winn-Dixie? No, but I don't think it's the same thing. I think it's the sense of
it's not like you have to raise the profile of grocery markets, right?
No, and they talk about recession proof, man. Grocery store, everybody's got to eat. So, yeah, man. I want to thank the audience today. This was a lively one. Maybe in the philosophy of a refreshing sabbatical, maybe it's good, man. I feel like the week off did us good together, Joe. This is all right, man.
I think so too. It was very good. Thanks everybody for stopping by. I really appreciate it. Love all the content, all the comments. Fantastic. Thanks so much. And it's great to be back after a week gone.
Yeah, thanks for the support, everybody. It's really cool to see what's going on with this show. It's not easy. It is. If we start at 7:30 in the morning, and it's 6:30 in my life here at this moment. So it's a crazy world. I love it. Thanks, everybody. See you Tuesday night with Leviathan Snakes on Tuesday. And then next Thursday, Proper Cup of Joe, right back at it. Joe, take us home. You get the last one, man.
Have a great week, everybody. Stay healthy. I'll see you then.